Yes, Alex Johnston celebrated his 200th NRL game with a double as Souths down the Melbourne Storm for their 5th straight victory. And I'm pleased to say that Jai Arrow joins us live here on the panel. Jai, great to have you on. Have you been enjoying Magic Round?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to come back up here in Brisbane, and I think the fans have been great and big crowds over the weekend. So it's been a good start, and looking forward to some more footy today.
Jai, do the players feel the buzz of Magic Round and the expectation to lift and perform?
Yeah, I think so. Especially for us coming up against a side like Melbourne, who are a quality side, and we knew that day 2 was sold out. So there was a big emphasis on coming up and I suppose relishing the challenge against Melbourne in front of a packed house at Suncorp, and I don't think there's any better place to play rugby league at Suncorp. So I love coming up here and getting around the Queenslanders and hearing them yelling and screaming and getting around us.
What about the travel? Getting on planes, are there other teams around, hotels, and getting in and around the stadium itself? What's it like running into other players?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. You obviously become mates with a lot of people, and as you know, a lot of boys go to different clubs, and it's good seeing some old faces, but some new faces as well. You get to, I suppose, sit down, have a chat, and reminisce on the old days, and it's just good to, I suppose, see boys that playing with and getting around them and having a chat. I don't mind a chat, to be honest.
What's it like playing for South Sydney? You started at Brisbane, a really big club up here, but South Sydney's probably the most iconic club, and especially the Rabbitohs. What's it like playing for South?
Yeah, it's special. It's a club with a lot of history, a club that you're so proud to be at, and it's just it's so exciting to be at such a proud club. And I've loved my time here, and I've said that over my 3 years here at the club. I'd love it to be my last, and obviously things change, but with the likes of players that we have at this club, with the Codys, the Latrells, it's pretty special to be at and see those boys run around, and makes my job easy, just laying a line, getting up, playing the ball fast for those boys.
You talk about those brilliant players that you've got in your team, and it's easy to see the great attack that South Sydney are putting on display at the moment, but your defence, you must be happy with where your defence is at, and I think we all know that premierships are won off the back of defence, conceding 12 points against the Melbourne Storm and then 6 points last week against the Brisbane Broncos. Is that a real focus for you?
Yeah, absolutely, and I said it to you before, Bill. I think at my time at the club, this is the best we've defended at the start of the year, and we want to be a defensive-based team, because we know if we're defending well, our attack is runs off the back of it. So we've got a defensive focus at the start of this year, and obviously it's a very long season, so we've got to be consistent and do that throughout the rest of the year, because we just don't want to start well and finish badly. So defending well is definitely a main focus for us, and JD's driven that throughout the pre-season, and it's just good to see we're defending well.
Firstly, I want to apologise for putting you on the short chair too.
Yeah.
All right. We don't normally do that to our guests, all right?
No,
the other thing is, you had a really good friend, Liam Knight, who just made it back after 12 months, had some injuries, had some dramas. What was it like seeing Liam take the field last night?
Yeah, a very proud moment for myself, and not only for myself, but for him. It's been a long time coming for the big fella. He's had 10 months out of the game, and finally made his way back into the side this week. But I got out there at Wagga last week to go watch his first game back, which is a pretty special feeling as well. He gave me a big hug, even though he was pretty sweaty. I embraced that, and to see him back in the NRL, he was actually very emotional in the sheds last night. There was a few tears shed, and I think he should be so proud of himself, the way he's carried himself over the past 12 months. Obviously, as a mate, you don't like seeing your mates go through those tough times, and to see what he's done over the past 12 months and come out the other end with, he's enjoying himself 90, and I'm so proud of him as a friend.
One appreciation you get when you watch rugby league live is how much commitment the players put in, and I want to ask you about your captain, Cam Murray. There was a moment last night he just looked like an absolute warrior. He looked like he was hurting, and he is one player that really checks his body in. You give him a cuddle last night?
I didn't actually. He was getting stitches, so I couldn't give him a cuddle. He was on the bed, and his missus was holding his hands. So, sorry.
And Joey was at the door.
Joey was at the other.
You must love playing with a guy like.
Oh, absolutely. He's I think, over my time in the NRL, he's one of my favourite players to play with. You know what you're going to get from Cam week in and week out. He's so tough. He's a lead. He leads with his actions, and he's starting to find a voice this year. I think he's just such a special talent and such a special person to be around. And I can see why South Sydney have picked him as our captain, because he's got it all, Camo. He's so well spoken. But not only that, I think he's one of the toughest players in rugby league at the moment. He's not the biggest body, as everyone can see. He's so skillful and so tough, and so lucky I get to run out with him week in and week out.
You're worried about he's too tough? He's getting too... No, but I'm serious. He's getting too many whacks? He's pushing himself too hard?
Yes and no. They're the people you want to play with, Joey. Running out when they put their body on the line like that. And I don't think he wasn't concussed yesterday. I think it was more of a caution thing because he got 2 knocks to the head in a row.
Well, we watch him sometimes when commentating. He is that exhausted, he can't get back on side. He's just on his haunches.
Yeah.
He just works himself to a but it's every game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's why we love playing with him.
Yeah.
It's why Cameron Murray's Cameron Murray. He's just gives his all. He's just exhausted, as you said, after the end of the game, and can't do much about it. And Camo, he'll continue to do that for the rest of his career.
Can you have a quick word to Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell and just tell them to stop setting Alex Johnston up for tries, because he's starting to catch me on the all-time
How much you get?
ladder. I've got 190, but he's 171 now, and it won't take him too much longer. Not to surpass me, but I think he'll be the greatest try scorer this game's ever seen by the time he finishes.
I think he's 5th at the moment. I think Beaver's in front of him. Is Terry Lamb still in front of him? You're in front of him, and then Ken Irvine.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying he was on it.
Well, he's 28 years old.
Well, that side of the field, if you rush him, they kick him behind. They scored 3 tries off kicks. So then if you don't rush, you're worried about the kick.
Yeah.
Then they pull your pants down the outside. Mate, playing with Cody and Latrell, who's the voice? Who's the dominant voice?
Oh, they both are pretty dominant. It's hard to say. They just demand us, boys in the middle, to be good. And if we're playing the ball quick, then you see the highlights there, what they can produce. It's pretty special, and just eyes up footy. And we're so lucky to have them in our side. And I just want to give back a big rap to AJ. They were saying he was on a try scoring drought, but he scored 170 odd, so I don't know how you can call that.
Some drought.
What about Cody and Latrell off the field? They actually came up to Queensland earlier than the whole team for a really special cause.
Yeah, that was kept under wraps. I was actually looking for them at the airport and didn't see them, and someone had told that they went up there, and obviously no one sees what those 2 boys actually do for the community behind closed doors. They do so much, and it's a credit to them. I suppose their values off the field and wanting to put smiles on people's faces like you see there. So they're 2 pretty special humans, and what they do off the field as well, not only off the field but on.
So they didn't tell the team or any of the players that they were going up to visit this remote community and do an extra...
Where's Cabbage Tree Island?
It's quite
Up
a
around
drive.
Ballina and stuff.
Yes,
like northern New South Wales.
Okay.
I think they flew into Ballina, and then it's a few hours drive out. So it's quite a remote community that they went and visited.
And got hammered by the floods.
Must have lost my number. They didn't tell me they were going.
Just on South Sydney at the moment, last night in commentary they were saying, I think Fatty was saying that you guys are premiership favourites. He says he can't see a single weakness in the team. How does that line, premiership favourites, sit with you?
I suppose it's good, but it's a long season where I think we're only at round 9, pretty sure.
10.
10. Threw my head off.
You missed it.
But yeah, look, it's quite satisfying, but we just want to consistently play good footy, and that's a focus. And we don't want to listen to that outside noise. Probably a cliche to say, but we're just focused on our defence and playing our footy. So we won't get too ahead of ourselves, because we're not even halfway through the year yet.
We obviously talk about the freakish players we've been talking about, but 2 players I've been impressed with, Heme Saleh and Davey Moala. Tell us about those 2 young tyros.
Oh, they're just 2 boys who I think are, Hame especially is a very underrated player. He's, like Junior, low to the ground, heavy, strong. He's got a late dip in defence and carries the ball hard. And then you spoke about young Dave Mwali, who I think's really finding his feet in the top grade.
He's 19, playing in the middle.
I know. He's a big boy, and He gets driven pretty hard, Davey, at training and in the games, and he just takes it with both hands, and he's playing really good footy this year, and I'm so proud of those two as well.
Off the field, Sam Burgess has come onto the coaching staff. What has Sam brought to the club and
Other
the
than
team?
biceps.
Yeah.
How big has he got?
He's in the gym every morning,
Mate.
actually. But
I think he even trained up here.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He's looking good at the moment, Sammy. I'll give you a wrap there, mate.
What's his role?
Yeah, look, he's more in the middle with us, and he brings a lot of passion and South Sydney spirit. He's obviously, I think, one of the best forwards to play the game. He was so tough, so skillful, and he feared no one. And I think he just wants to drive that with us about leaving our mark in the middle third of the field and building our reputation. And he's been really good with us, Sammy, and so has Bomber, Johnny Morris. He's been really good with us. He's obviously our defensive coach as well. So just building our reputation and stuff like that. So we're just focusing on that and enjoying it as we go.
Joe, you're probably not in a position to judge haircuts, but what have you made of Tommy's haircut? Tommy food.
Well, just quietly. He had a, Chuck Liddell cut before the game, and JD wasn't too fond about it, so he had to go get it fixed up. I don't know what he could possibly do because he's going bald, the big fella. So he must have been watching that movie Frozen, that song that they sing, Let It Go. So he's decided to let it go, the big fella, and I'm happy for him. He reckons he's going to try and grow a mullet, but honestly, Tommy, just stick to the bald head. Yeah.
Origin coming up. Do you chat much to Billy at this point of the year?
No, I haven't really spoken. I think that's just something you want to play the best footy possible and sort of keep your head down, play good footy, and if that time comes, it comes, and the opportunity, and you take it with both hands. So it's not too much chat. It's just about playing good footy, consistent footy, and we'll see how we go.
That's where you do your chat out there.
Yeah.
He was offside there too, by the way. Mate, seriously, get offside.
You're a Brisbane boy originally?
Gold Coast.
Oh, you're
Gold
Goldie?
Coast boy, yeah, Goldie boy.
So did you go to, what are the schools down there?
Keebra.
You went Keebra?
Yeah.
So who did you
Keebra.
come through? Who were some of the players?
So I come through, geez, that's a good, Deloise Hoyter, he was there.
Right.
The top of my head, that's a tough question. I can only think of Curtis Rowe, played a few games of first grade at the Tigers. Those boys.
Well, you're going to be sticking around here on the Sunday Footy Show because you're going to be taking part in Freddie's Pass-Off live from the Caxton. We're throwing you in the deep end there.
Looking forward to it.
All right, we are too. And Sean O'Sullivan is about to drop by as well as we look at the Dolphins' incredible win over the Cronulla Sharks.
Stefani, what a story. He's a big boy, but he runs like the wind. And what a place to make his first grade debut. A little bit of subtlety. Stefani shakes on. Matola, he's over! Valen Stefani! Milford runs. Milford gets it on. Valen Stefani! It is fast becoming Valen Stefani's ninth at Suncorp. A double on debut.
What a debut it was for Valen Stefani. Double 2 tries on debut as the Dolphins beat the Sharks 36-16, and someone who was watching it all unfold from the coach's box, Sean O'Sullivan, joins us live here on the Sunday Footy Show. I've got to ask you, first of all, great to have you on, but what was it like in the coach's box for Wayne and his 900th premiership game in charge?
Yeah, it was pretty good, you know. Being able to witness history is pretty special, and yeah, Wayne was up to his best as usual. You know, he had a good captain's run speech for all the boys, and he let everyone know that he was feeling himself this week. So he was in fine form, and he was good and calm as always.
What was his speech, his captain's run speech?
He's just funny, hey. He's just I think he kind of knew that the boys were kind of ready for this game. He wasn't really happy with last week, so he kind of got into the boys early on in the week, and then captain's run, I think he realised that he wanted to, you know, give boys a lot of confidence that he was confident that we could get the win. So had a few jokes in there and just kind of made people feel happy.
They say your performance is a reflection of your preparation. Take us into the week itself. How did you prepare? You were coming up against, you know, the red hot Sharks. You got Nico Hines, who's in great form. How was the preparation this week?
Yeah, I think we honestly went back to basics. You know, Wayne let us know that he, wasn't acceptable what we did against the Raiders, and we can't, keep playing one half of footy and not playing the other half. So he really wanted us to get back to what Plan A is for the Dolphins, and what playing in a Dolphins jersey looks like. So I think you showed that we played an 80-minute performance, and Wayne was just really happy with that. And it wasn't perfect and it wasn't pretty, but he just wants effort, and he just wants you to always do your best and stick to what works for you.
You're out with a torn pec. When are you back?
Hopefully against the Broncos. Everything's going really well. The performance staff have been unbelievable for me, so I'm starting to ramp things up for me now, so it's going good.
You've been around footy all your life, Sean. Really smart halfback, one of the smartest I've been involved with. How much coaching are you doing now with you being off? You're helping, putting some detail into the halves?
Yeah, I think, I'm really trying to just help out where I can. We... Izzy and Cody Nicarima have been doing a wonderful job for us, and Milf came on in the second half and tried to play really well, but he we're just trying to really build our game and build what 80 minutes looks like. I think we're trying to realise how to get momentum back when we're losing it and how to keep momentum. So I think you saw that we took a really big step last night. I think Milf had 2 really good early kicks to kind of keep the momentum on them, and then we saw Izzy have another early kick. So I think we just got to recognise when we've got momentum and how to keep going at it. So that's the main thing.
How's Izzy? Joey just spoke about you've always been a student of the game. Tell us about him.
Who Izzy is first. People wouldn't know.
Isaiah Katoa. And he's a student of the game. He's really calm and collected, and he knows that he's got a lot of growth into what he's trying to do and what he's trying to build, and we're going to be really patient with him, and we know that it's baby steps, and he's learning through good experiences and bad experiences, which we all have to do, but he's head down, arse up, and he's working really hard at his craft.
Half or 5'8" moving forward.
I think it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. Like he's playing 7 now, and if I come back and we play together, I think we're both smart enough to realise that we can play with each other, and whoever it is in the spine, because Cody Nicarima has been going unbelievable for us. His touches and the way that he's bringing Connolly Lemu in through the game is unbelievable, and I think Cons is going to be a really good player for us in the future.
Everyone's had their opinion and their prediction on what the Dolphins would do this year. How does that sit with the playing group? Because it hasn't exactly been favourable, but you've certainly changed their opinions in some people.
Yeah, I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and for us it was so new, so we didn't want to put a ceiling on anything. Wayne always said to us that we just want to get better every single day, and we want to find our identity of our team, and that's by competing and executing plays. So we understand we're not where we need to be and where we want to be, but as long as we keep putting in effort and we keep just trying hard and not really listen to the outside noise, as we're getting a little bit of praise now, or things aren't going too good, just stay level-headed, and Wayne's the right man for that.
You mentioned earlier a couple of early kicks in the second half, and that was something that I noticed watching the game. To do that, you've got to have a fit football team. It must have been a big pre-season for you.
Yeah, it was. Wayne kind of let us know at the start that, he expects us to be fit and to compete on everything. And, what exemplifies that is Tom Gilbert. He the way that he ripped into pre-season, him and Ray Stone was unbelievable. Stoney I think he was 7 months off a knee reco, probably shouldn't have even been doing an army camp, and here he is doing an army camp leading by the front. Him and Gilbert, they don't want to lose against each other, so they really set the platform on that, and Jeremy Hickman's our high performance manager, was unbelievable for us, and it was really good. They got the balance right, that's for sure.
What about Valence to Fade making his debut last night? Tell us a little bit about him, because he's got quite an interesting story. He was only recently playing rugby union and then was a groundskeeper for the Dolphins. Yeah,
Val, he's a character. Hey, you might have to get him up here one day. He'll make you laugh. But he's worked really hard. Last night was obviously a really good performance for him, and he knows that he's still got a long way to go, but he's a powerful bloke through the hips, and it's probably going to take more than one person to bring him down, as you can see in that clip. But he's a special talent, but he's put in a lot of work. I think his girlfriend has just moved down too from New Zealand, so he's starting to get a little bit of familiarity about Queensland and living in Redcliffe. So hopefully he just keeps going well and keeps his head down. And
You're talking about being in the box with Wayne, and they're all good moments last night. But what about when Jennings hit the ground a couple of weeks ago and just didn't move? What was going on there, firstly, and what did the coach have to say?
Honestly, one thing that I've learnt with Wayne is he's never too high and he's never too low. He's just so calm, and I think that reflects on us as a football team. So even in the coaching box, he doesn't flinch. He's just calm, and if something doesn't go to plan or if something doesn't go to the way that we envision it, he's just a next job guy, and he doesn't really like to kick people when they're down, or he doesn't really like to actually give people praise when they're doing too well. So he's just so calm, and he's so good to be around.
Can you tell us like what is going on in the coach's box when things like that are happening? Does he say much? Is it a tense environment?
No, it's not tense at all. He was he just kind of we'll say a little joke here and there, or he'll send a little clear message out to someone if they need something. But he honestly likes to keep things simple, and he likes to keep things giving players really clear message, and that's something that I think he's doing really well with us. He's building us into being an 80-minute team, and he's very clear with everything, and never too high, never too low.
All right, well, it is great to see the Dolphins flying high. We're looking forward to seeing you back in action when you take on the Broncos. You've got that one circled on the calendar, but coming up after the break, we'll be looking at the Panthers and the Warriors game. Geez, weren't there some big hits in this game? It was quite incredible.
There was a period in that first half where Edward Cossey just flew out of the line and got Stephen Crichton, and that just sparked the next 10 or 15 minutes, and there was about 3 or 4 of them, and Stephen Crichton got his revenge. Unfortunately, Dylan Walker was on the end of it, but Moses Leota got in on the action, and it was a brutal period.
And there was a period where James Fisher-Harris was going after Wade Egan. I felt for him.
What do you think Wade was thinking?
Oh, get me out of here.
I want my money.
I want to be on the plane. So the Panthers securing an 18-16 win over the Warriors. The Warriors put up a solid fight throughout. They were really physical, but what did you make of this Panthers performance you saw?
I thought they've totally changed the way they attack. I don't know, it was just because they were playing the Warriors, but they're looking to go wide, coming back through the middle with change of angles. I thought Nathan and Jerome Luai ran a lot around the middle of the field, around the ruck. I saw less passing from Isaiah Yeo. I don't know whether it was a plan or they're looking to tweak things, but I think it was a tough game, high-standard game.
Well, their attack's not coming easy. They've gone through some big changes, new hooker, no strike back rower, a few players out, and, for 20 minutes, the Warriors were down to 12 players. And in those times, they didn't come up with tries. I think maybe Stefan Lenders might have been a try right at the end of the game, but, could not been able to take advantage of that. But on the other hand, mate, 6 points.
Do you see?
They're holding teams for 6 points regularly. No one scores more than 2 tries against them. So, at the end of the day, whatever's happening with their attack, their whole game, based on their defence, which they've won comps on, is just so good.
Do you see a big difference in their attack, say, 12 months ago to now?
Oh, well, the hooker. You lose your hooker. I think Sony Luke needs to play more minutes, without a doubt. Mitch Kennedy's obviously a real wholehearted player and gives good service, but Sony Luke needs to go on and start giving some presence. This is what he's there for, is to own the middle, a bit like Happy. He's got nice trickery around the middle. And I think without a doubt he needs to be playing more minutes, even starting games, being more dangerous. Their team needs to be more dangerous. You need to be more dangerous around the middle. That allows space everywhere else on the field. So unless you're dangerous there, or you've got an incredible pass, very hard to be finding space anywhere else on the field.
They've just got less firepower this year. Viliami Kikau's another one on that left-hand side. He was a real go-to guy over the last 3 years, but they've still got the habits that have won them the premiership. And Freddie just spoke about the defence. They've still got that in their organisation, and that's what's going to hold them in good stead and put them in every game that they play. They mightn't blow teams away like they did a few years ago, because of that firepower, but they've still got that core and that foundation of their game.
So you still see them as a strong premiership threat this year?
They'll be there. They'll be hard to beat at the end of the year. They're hard to beat now.
But they're getting beat. Now, the last couple of years, they didn't get beat. They barely lost a game for 3 years.
The Tigers were the ones that
They're
beat
incredible.
them.
You know, but I can see the Tigers. That was just one of those games. You know, the conditions were dreadful. You know, I think their team didn't look anything like the team that they could have out on the field. But at the end of the day, they're getting beat. For 3 years, they haven't got beat. So I think they need to find a way to score more points. Just have a few easier wins every now and then, because it's hard winning in through defence, because it's physical. You've got to be physical, and you've got to be, you know, really fit, and that means you've got to be training hard week in, week out. So, getting a couple of lucky tries every now and then. They're not getting many tries off kicks. You know, like Crichton, I'd like to see him in the air a bit more. Like, he's a great jumper. Finding he needs to get a few easy tries for him. They're not getting any easy tries.
How do you see it, Joey?
Yeah, same. They're lacking strike, but they're still getting it done. Everything's connected. If you're putting extra work in your defence, your attack's going to suffer. I look at games purely on attack. I really don't watch defence, but I've just noticed their attack has changed. It was good to see Nathan Cleary kicking goals again. Freddie, have you spoken to him? He's got a bit of
He looks better. I think
drama with his groin.
Well, he went through a couple of weeks ago and he didn't kick for one game where...
There was 2 or 3 games I think he didn't kick.
How good having Stephen Crichton as a backup. He's a great goal kicker. I love watching him goal kick, let alone how effective he is. But
Nathan's groin, mate.
We'll have a look at that.
Yeah.
You know, he gives... That's the thing, you know. Well, he's been, you know, he's just such a sort of pro, I suppose, that a couple of weeks off, you could imagine off the field what he'd be doing, getting himself right.
And that's what Ivan Cleary said during the week, that he didn't want him to aggravate it even more. He said it was getting a lot better, and that was last week, not having him kicking. He just didn't want to have that competitive.
You look at halves especially, who work so hard on their game but also their kicking. Around this time in their career, 25, 26, this is where they get groin problems. Same as yourself. I had, around this period, a lot of groin problems just from all the kicking and the load you put on there, on your legs.
How'd you fix it? How'd you get better?
Had to fix it, but you carry it for a long time. If you don't get it sorted.
Operations. Four or five operations, total rupture. You know, and then just in amongst it, you just learn that you got to strengthen all different other parts of your body, and
but you got to look at
find the balance.
You got to be so diligent with your rehab on it.
Speaking of halves, Sean Johnson, Joey, what have you made of his season? They're obviously having a great year, and they're doing a lot better than what they have, the Warriors.
There was a stage in the game where he kicked early and he chased his own kick and he tackled him in goal, and the reaction where he screamed at his teammates. Now that's a sign of grit. It's a sign of toughness. And with all due respect, those are the words you don't really sort of talk about, Sean. It's all flamboyance and touch footy movements. I think he's close to career best form. Look, a couple of years at the Warriors where he set the competition alight. But he's doing it in different ways now. I mentioned those 2 words, grit and toughness. Defensively, he's been really strong. I've been really surprised. When he left Cronulla, I thought he's finished. He's gone, that's it. But he has found a real edge to the way he's playing. How good does he look?
Like, how good does he move? Like, between him and Reece Walsh, mate, they just move so well.
It's really good to see.
Graceful.
There's been a bit of talk about him going to the Tigers, and the Tigers expressing some interest. Do you think that'd be a good move?
No. Stay in New Zealand. You're a New Zealand boy. Stay over there. I think this was the one here. He kicks and chases, and he makes the tackle. And if we can get the reaction where he's screaming his teammates, demanding better, I thought, wow, this is a change in Sean Johnson.
And that's what he said. He said, early on in the season, that being back at home, having family around, really sort of ignited his love again.
I agree. I think New Zealand's his place.
What about the Warriors in 2023? What change have you seen from them? New coach,
well, those
Andrew
2 words,
Webster.
grit and toughness. They're hanging in. They look really fit. I think they know their DNA. I think they're workaholic forwards. Jackson Ford, these sort of players. Dylan Walker in the middle, working really hard. But they're playing tough. They're hanging in.
Very similar to the Dolphins, aren't they? They're just getting that foundation of the game right, and they're competitive now. Although they've lost their last couple, they're very competitive, and you gain that off the back of a good pre-season. You know, Craig Bellamy always said it's hard to have a good season when you haven't had a good pre-season. It just gives you the foundation of the year, and you can tell that this young group has had a good pre-season over there in New Zealand.
They're outside backs. Well, they're so big and athletic. They're just, I think over time too, most of them are very young, just getting that little bit more reliable. There always seems to be a little error every now and then at those crucial stages. If you look at the really good teams when you want to be winning week in, week out, they've just got to be out of your game. They're just got to be disappeared out of your DNA. There's a few of them in Penrith yesterday as well. Taruva, a couple of them actually had ones that play the balls, which has been out of their game for a couple of years. That was a bad sign. So, if they could do that, they're so dangerous across the field, especially with those front rows. If you can just be safe up into that tackle 3, tackle 4, and Tohu Harris, Adam Fanua-Blake, and all these sort of players are starting to get the ball, then you become a very dangerous footy team. You get up the field very easy.
Yes, Selwyn Cobbo was certainly one of the Brisbane Broncos stars on Friday night. The Broncos absolutely demolishing the Seagulls in that early game that we saw. Got to speak Manly first of all. What did you think of their performance coming into this? There's been a fair bit of drama and a bit of chaos at the club, but did you expect that from them?
Different class, really. Yeah, I did expect. I thought Brisbane would win by about this much. Brisbane's flying at the moment up here, big crowd. Obviously a bit of drama at Manly with what's going on with Schuster, but they're a different team without Jake in the middle. Jake does a lot of that cleaning up.
10 errors in the first half, Manly.
Yeah, their start of the game was awful.
Yeah, doesn't matter who you're playing. You turn the ball over 10 times in the first half and you're going to fill the fuel tank up with the opposition.
How do you see the situation unfolding at Manly going forward?
With
Schuster,
it's up to him. It's up to Josh. Look, everyone knows what's going on. He's not fit at the moment. Everyone can see the potential, and he admits it. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago for a piece before the game, and he said that. He said, look, I've been hearing my whole life that I've got natural talent, but I need to work harder. He said, I'm not offended by it. I understand it. So it's up to him. It's not up to the trainers. The trainers can't be with players 24/7. It's got to come from the individual.
I can't believe he doesn't live at Manly. How can't you live near the team that you play for? You need to be close. Need to be.
A lot of
He
players
probably wants to live around family.
And
move the family. Take the family.
Mate, we all can't buy places for 15 million, Terry.
The Northern Beaches is an expensive area.
You've got a bit of space on your farm up there, Freddie.
Take them all.
Have you got a spare room?
Bring all the Schuster.
But we wish him well.
We do.
Well, he's
we
a
want to see
gun.
him back.
Well, he's got to play footy.
Everyone wants to see him back.
He just can't get on the field. So he's got to do something off the field to help him get on the field, because we know what he can outlay when he gets on the field.
Well, how much do Manly need him to get
they need
to that
more than him.
to get back?
They need to get their game right. And we just mentioned the errors in the first half. You've got to turn up with a great attitude. And we spoke about the Dolphins and the Warriors, who are getting that basic right. They've got a lot of good players in their team, Manly, but they've got to get the basics right. And they did it 3 weeks ago against Melbourne. But in this competition, you need to do it every week, and that's their challenge.
You've got to do it away from 4 points, away from Brooklyn. They're a different team there. It doesn't matter where you play, you got to aim up.
What about the Broncos? The Broncos, they lost to the Rabbits last week, 32 points to 6, and they turned that exact score around to 32 points to 6 in favour of them.
Well, I'm missing Payne Haas. We can see what influence he does, but also Ezra Mam. Defensively on the left side, that was the side they leaked points last week. Ezra wasn't there. And this bloke's just, we could be looking at, well, if he stays fit, this will be the greatest front row we've seen in the NRL era.
He's got some good help. Mate, Carrigan was unbelievable. Yeah. Flegler, all those blokes through the middle. They do a wonderful job. And I've got to say, the 2 hookers, I think the big question mark was over the 2 hookers, Walters and Pakes. And you know what? They are doing exactly what they need to do. Walters got the try. Pakes comes on with a little bit of trickery, come up with a couple of nice passes that led to tries. Not playing outside their square, not overdoing their role, and that's the whole team pretty much. Yeah.
The good teams have 17 contributors, and you look at the Broncos, you look at South Sydney, and across the park, everyone contributes to the performance, and that's what the Broncos are doing right now. And there's some players in their team that are really shining, the Reece Walshes and the Ezra Mams and the Payne Haases, Patrick Carrigans, but everyone is contributing to the performance.
Freddie, what about Turbo, mate? Have you spoke to Turbo much?
I was talking to him leading into when he had the hip problem. Remember, he seized up and then tweaked a groin when they played the West Tigers. But you know what? If it was anyone else, you'd go there all right. I know there was commentators sitting there, and Fatty Patil was just talking about how he didn't look, wasn't moving that well, but he's still getting through a lot of work. got the try at the end of the game, which they really needed. They needed a little bit of positivity to even going into the end of the game, and he still came up with something nice. He's had a few, obviously the hamstring, he had a hip pointer, then a groin. So, pretty much the entire year he's been playing with through discomfort.
You can actually see he's getting jacked with people asking him about
exactly.
it.
I asked him on the field at the end of the game. It was a talking point, and he actually said he feels really good on his in his body, but he just wants to find some form on the field. So
I think he cringed, actually. I saw that. When you asked him, he sort of went to lift his shoulder and he cringed. It was like, oh, really? Do I have to answer this again?
It was disgusting commentary, but he said that he wants to find some form. So how much when you've got, because there have only just been minor niggling injuries, can that weigh on your mind heading into
If you're
games?
in that team and you drop 10 balls in the first half, and pretty much their first 5 sets they drop the ball, it doesn't matter which position you play and how good you are, you wouldn't be doing anything. Nothing. You're retrieving the ball off your own dead ball line or kicking off and just getting bashed the whole time. So it doesn't matter how good you are. They're not turning momentum around at all. So it didn't matter who you were. And he was just tired, I'm assuming, like every other Manly player, because they just dug the hole that deep, they couldn't get out. They were awful.
What have you made of Daly Cherry Evans' form?
Yeah, a little bit like what Freddie said. When your team's not going well, it's hard for you to perform. I think Daly's defending really well. He's putting his body on the line. Great tackle one-on-one there with Flegler. But everyone needs to lift their game. Daly needs to lift his performance in that team, and he needs the players around you to lift as well. So they need to get the basics right. They need to strip it right back and get the basics right.
A bit of work for the Manly Sea Eagles to do, that's for sure, ahead of their match next week. But for now, we're going to be heading up to the Caxton on Caxton Street for Freddie's pass-off.